I'm Penny S.T., and I'm the host of Peace with Penny. It was the summer of 2014, and our trip to Israel was for our son's bar mitzvah present. My husband had gone back to the hotel, and my son, friends, and I had just stopped in a pharmacy.
Run to the bomb shelter, sweetie. Please hurry. I didn't hear the sirens at first, but the Israelis did. They're used to hearing these things. We ran to the back of the storeroom. It was a 12-foot by 24-foot windowless bomb shelter. My heart's pounding. Boom! Boom! I hear it and feel the percussion of the exploding bombs. I'm trying not to get sick. I look at my 13-year-old son and I think I'll never forgive myself if something happens to him.
It's an excerpt from a speech I gave to the Orange County Jewish Bar Association. It was the first, but not the last time we had to run to a bomb shelter. Our adventure and my transformation is also the subject of my book, Blasted from Complacency, A Journey from Terror to Transformation in Israel. The impact of the war made me want to work on peace of all types, and especially between Israelis and Palestinians. I know that the parents on both sides want their children to play safely in their backyards. The greatest disservice the media has done is to convince the world that there never will be peace in the Middle East. Yet there are pockets of peace even today during war. At Peace with Penny, we have a packed library of interviews of peace organizations whose members are often both Israeli and Palestinian who work together on peace, some for decades. The ways of working on peace are varied and include science, medicine, interfaith, transportation, sports, art, music, environmental conservation, and many more. Is it harder during war? Of course, and many of these peace organizations believe working together now is even more important than ever. What can I say? Lately, instead of speaking on Peace with Penny about the wonderful peace organizations of Israelis and Palestinians who work together on peace, even during war, I find myself making this video and writing Times of Israel blogs for my peace of mind. Peace of mind is hard to find when so many of the beliefs we grew up with are under attack. What do I mean? Can you feel safe today as a Jew in the United States? Can anyone? Citizens being killed by government militias? Our nation of immigrants closing our doors? What is happening to our democracy? These questions when I was growing up would have been preposterous. There are questions my grandmother might have asked. In this video, I'm highlighting Rabbi Sammy Seid and his wife, Cantor Heather Seid. Their family had moved to Minneapolis and had been enjoying their new work at a Adath Yeshurun congregation. The Divine has chosen them to be in Minneapolis to support their community, and they are Kol HaKavod, or for those listening who aren't Jews, it's a Jewish high five. First, we'll hear Cantor Heather's song she wrote about her feelings during these times.
I'm not
heard Rabbi Sammy's recent Devar Torah, I wanted to share it with you. Toward the end, he reminds us that the Torah in these times asks us for more. Pharaoh calls Moses to him because he is losing control, politically, spiritually, and emotionally. Each plague pushes Pharaoh closer to the edge. This seems familiar and sounds a bit too close for comfort. Given today's environment, these stories can teach us valuable lessons.
Parshat Bo brings us to the night when cruelty finally collapses under its own weight. We see Egypt is broken, the cries are everywhere, and Pharaoh is ordered enslavement, violence, and death, something that must be understood in every place and time. And systems of oppression depend on dehumanization, not only of their victims, but of all humanity. Dehumanization makes cruelty easier, it hardens hearts, and it trains people to obey without seeing. And the Torah's response is not simply to be understanding. The Torah's response urges us, do not become what has enslaved you. Our tradition recognizes that the danger of Egypt was not only what it did to the bodies of the Israelites. The Torah doesn't soften Pharaoh's crimes. It does not mitigate his responsibility. This is the same Pharaoh who has had a hardened heart again and again in his stubbornness, whose policies have shattered families, and whose fear has been weaponized into law. This verse, therefore, is not asking the victims to offer spiritual comfort to their oppressor. Our Torah is unequivocal about who holds power here and who suffers under it. Pharaoh's not confused. Pharaoh is not powerless. Pharaoh's not misunderstood. Pharaoh is responsible. Our Torah refuses to let Pharaoh be a cartoon villain. Our tradition recognizes that Pharaoh's final call happens in a panic, probably not one of repentance, and his heart does seem to be breaking, but it doesn't transform. We see him still chase after the Israelites. And our Torah preserves this distinction. It's not redemption, but it is a crack. And such cracks matter, not because they absolve evil, but because they tell us something about who we are required to be when power finally trembles. We're asked what Torah we need to hear when the world is breaking. In moments of moral collapse, language itself can be fractured, and words mean more than the speaker intends. So Torah listens for what escapes control. For honest gentleness and tender-hearted softness can still exist even here. I don't think Pharaoh is claiming virtue. He is perhaps against his own will, admitting that cruelty has not fully erased his humanity. Please God, let it be so. And this admission doesn't really save him, but what it does is it teaches the Israelites something essential on the way out the door, something that must be understood in every place and time in which there is oppression. Systems of oppression depend on dehumanization, not only of their victims, but of all humanity. Dehumanization makes cruelty easier, it hardens hearts, and it trains people to obey without seeing. And the Torah's response is not simply to be understanding. The Torah's response urges us, do not become what has enslaved you. Our tradition recognizes that the danger of Egypt was not only what it did to the bodies of the Israelites, but what it would have done to the very souls in teaching them to accept brutality as normal and acceptable. Freedom cannot wait for the oppressor to grow a conscience. We see this in our own community with many frightened. Families are vulnerable. The presence of ICE and the threat of separation, the atmosphere of suspicion are not abstract ideas. They are lived fears. And Torah does not ask those who are afraid to rationalize and to explain themselves. Torah does not ask allies to soften their outrage or simply comply. Torah does not ask us to pretend that cruelty is policy neutral. What Torah does ask is something else, something deeper, and something more courageous. To fight injustice without surrendering our moral center, to protect the vulnerable without letting fear harden us into indifference, to insist on human dignity precisely because power keeps denying it. Seeing the possibility of humanity in another is not necessarily forgiveness. It's a resistance to dehumanization itself. The people of Israel carry something else out of Egypt. A commitment to tenderness in a world that has tried to crush it, a refusal to forget innocence even after it's been violated, and a God who sides unmistakably with the enslaved. That is the blessing. May we be a community that does not confuse heartfelt compassion with blind compliance. May we never place the burden of morality on those already burdened by fear and oppression. And may we march together out of every narrow place with clarity, with courage, and hearts that remain stubbornly human with tenderness. Shabbat Shalom.
Rabbi Sami's sermon encapsulates morals which are severely challenged in our current circumstances. As Jews, we are often asked to do what seems like the impossible. As they leave Egypt, he says that the Israelites were asked to take with them a commitment to tenderness in a world that has tried to crush it, a refusal to forget innocence even after it's been violated. I couldn't help but think of the thousands of Epstein victims too. May they find peace in their soul and finally find support from the masses of good people. Their patience has been excruciating for them. When Rabbi Sami acknowledges that we need to stand up and fight lest we be complicit, he says Torah asks for more. It asks us to fight injustice without surrendering our moral center, to protect the vulnerable without letting fear harden us into indifference. We need more of the Side family's light. Their new community is blessed to have their support. May you live in peace, shalom, and salam.